Alright, I am Tahuti Kapura Iteru. Now in this video I want to speak about what if the Anunnaki was the devil. So let's get into this right here. So now this video right here is inspired by Bobby Hemmett's Dark Side lecture, right? And in the Dark Side lecture, he spoke about how Jesus is actually the devil and Satan is the good guy, right? And so most people, you already know that Jesus is J, Zeus, right? But Bobby Hemmett broke down how the J is Jupiter, right? So Zeus is Jupiter, who is also God. But Bobby Hemmett broke down how the God of this realm is actually the devil, right? Because the God is is the one who's sustaining this physical and keeping this physical and keeping us trapped in this physical, right? So, but now I want to show you how this links with the Anunnaki and why the Anunnaki is actually the devil, right? So now going to the meaning of what the Anunnaki actually is now, the Sumerians never said that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings, right? They never said they were extraterrestrial beings, right? One second. Okay. So the Sumerians never said the Anunnaki were actually extraterrestrial beings. That was a fallacy propagated by Zaceria Stichen, right? But see, at the time, because I know a lot of Nubians, little Dr. York, they also come with that same doctrine as far as the Anunnaki being extraterrestrial beings. But see, at the time when Dr. York came out, all they had was Zaceria Stichen in the 90s. That's all you had. All you had was Zaceria Stichen. He was the only point of call to the Sumerian text. But now we can read him for ourselves, so we can understand why Dr. York would have said it back then. You see what I'm saying? 'Cause that's all they had was Zaceria Stichen. But now we can read the text for ourselves. And when we read it for ourselves now, we can see that they never said, right, that the Anunnaki were actual beings that from heaven to earth they came. They never said that. That's not in the text, right? So again, they were not actual real beings. But the reason why this is important, because I want to talk about the relationship between Marduk and the Anunnaki. This part is key. This is critical right here. The relationship between Marduk and the Anunnaki, right? But so Marduk is said to be the king of the gods. Marduk is also said to have 50 names, right? And one of which is An, the creator of all things. Another is Nibiru, right? But An or Anu is the father of the Anunnaki. As the Anunnaki are in the text, they are called the Anunna gods, right? And Anunna means princely seed, meaning those who are seeded of Anu, right? But going back to it, Marduk is also called Nibiru. And in the text, Nibiru is called Marduksta, right? Marduksta. And Nibiru means place of the crossing or the crossing point. And again, in my video, The Hidden Truth About Extraterrestrials, I dealt with this stuff. You see what I'm saying? I broke it all down. Go check it out. Right? And in that video, I broke down how Nibiru is not actually a planet, and it's not actually a ship, but it was a state of alignment. You see, it was a state of alignment. But it goes even deeper, right? Because again, Marduk has 50 names, and one of his sixth name identifies him as the monitor of the Anunnaki and the Egigi, right? And it says that no one may pass into the world above or the world below without his knowledge. You see? So Marduk is actually the one who presides over the Anunnaki. You see? So Marduk presides over the Anunnaki. And it says that Marduk assigns 300 Anunnaki gods to preside over the heavens and another 300 to preside over the netherworld. So again, 300 Anunnaki gods, right? So again, it shows how the Anunnaki were not actually beings from heaven to earth they came. They were not physical beings, you see. But again, as I broke down in my videos, that the Anunnaki is the order of the universe. They are the forces that keep things in order, right? They keep the universe functioning. But Marduk presides over the Anunnaki. So even they are, even though they are the order of the universe, the order is still presided over by Marduk, who is also called An, right? But now here's where it gets even deeper. Because Marduk is said to be the one who slain the god Tiamat. Now Tiamat is this dragon-like serpent in the beginning of creation, which also corresponds to the serpent Shisha in Hindu mythology, right? Who is the serpent Shisha who existed in the primordial waters, right? But Shisha is an archetype which represents the remainder of the universe, or the universe in its dormant state, right, before creation, right? So in this sense, Tiamat also represents the cosmos prior to creation. So now, but it's said that Marduk slays Tiamat and uses half of her body to create her heavens and the other half to create the earth. But it also says that he appointed guards so that the waters of Tiamat could not escape. So what do you call it, right, when you appoint guards to stop something or someone from escaping? That sounds like a prison, right? Sounds like a prison. But it gets even deeper than this, because Tiamat creates an army of monsters to help fight against Marduk, right? But these monsters are also defeated, that they are made to work. But what's interesting is that in the occult realm, the soul is called the monstrous soul. The soul is the monstrous soul, but again, we're going to get back to that, right? We'll get back to that. Now, the key thing here is that, the key thing to this right here is that Marduk is said to be Jupiter, right? He's said to be Jupiter. And like the god Zeus, he is also associated with Jupiter. So in this sense, Marduk is God. He is God. He is the god of this particular universe. And he's the one that's keeping all of this shit functioning, right? But this god, Marduk, is killing other gods. And he's essentially creating prisons. So what type of god are we dealing with here? Right? What type of god is this? But this same god Marduk presides over the Anunnaki, who is the order and the forces of the universe. Right? The order and forces of the universe. So who exactly is the Anunnaki and who is Marduk? But again, we're going to get into that. But before we go into that, we must explain why Zeus and Marduk is associated with Jupiter. Right? We must explain this. So the first thing we must understand is that the planet Jupiter itself is not actually a god, right? But it was likened to the gods of this realm. And the reason being is because in the occult realm, the planets are energies, right? The planets are viewed as energies, meaning that they represent certain specific associations and characteristics that the mind can focus on, right? That the mind can focus on. So, but the reason why Jupiter is likened to God is because when you do the research on Jupiter, Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. So it is the largest object in our solar system next to the sun, right? But also, Jupiter is said to be the cosmic vacuum because its gravitational force is so strong that objects can either be pulled into its orbit, or objects that intersect its orbit can be thrown off course and sent away from the solar system, right? But these objects are mainly asteroids and comets. So Jupiter is considered to be the hero of the solar system, right? Because comets that could potentially hit Earth are now steered away by Jupiter, right? They're steered away by Jupiter. So the reason why Zeus and Marduk are likened to Jupiter is not because Jupiter is an actual god, but because the god that presides over this physical is protecting the Earth, right? And keeping this world in order and keeping this world functioning, right? So comets that would destroy the Earth and end all life on Earth are being steered away by Jupiter, right? But that in itself can be likened to a god that is keeping this world alive and in order. You see? And in order. Now, so now let me so now let me explain why Zeus and Marduk. Actually, no, wait. Let me see where we go. Oh, now let me explain. Okay, now let me explain why this is actually a bad thing. So Zeus keeping this. So Jupiter keeping all of this by taking the comets and steering the comets away from Earth and from impacting Earth. Let me explain why this is actually a bad thing, and I'll explain how we come into this, right? So going back to the story of Tiamat, Tiamat was at war with the young gods, right? Then she created an army of monsters to go to war with these young gods. But then Marduk, who was on the side of these young gods, was summoned to fight the army of Tiamat, right? And if he won, he would then become the ruler of all the gods. But Marduk defeated the monsters of Tiamat, and then he vanquished them to work in the fields and the canals. But then soon the gods complained of the work. Thus Marduk called for Kingu, who was the leader of the army of monsters whom Marduk defeated, right? He then killed Kingu, and with his blood, clay from the earth, right? With his blood, clay from the earth, and spittle from the other gods, they created humans, right? They created humans, and then the humans would take on the previous labor of the gods, and they would work the fields, toll the land, and then they had to worship these gods, who were originally the young gods, right? But where it gets deep is that Bobby Hemming would always speak about how melanin is the leftover substance of the dead gods. Huh? Melanin is the leftover substance of the dead gods. But humans were created from the leftovers of the dead gods. So now you can see where we're going with this right here. Right? You see where I'm going with this now? But also it says in the Sumerian text that the Anunnaki created man to replace the Igigi. But the Igigi represents universal intelligence, right? Or the universal mind. But man is able to replace the Igigi because man has manas, which is mind, right? Which he uses to understand the nature of the universe. But it says that the workload was heavy, right? Which is referring to the difficult task of trying to understand the universe, right? So understand the universe. So now, again, you can see where I'm going with this right here. But before we come to this conclusion, let's take a quick look into the Greek mythology to see how this corresponds, right? So Jupiter is also Zeus, who is also Marduk. But in Greek mythology, Zeus defeats the Titans, and they are cast down to earth and imprisoned on earth, and ultimately become man. They become men, right? But there was also a Titan named Prometheus who tricked Zeus and gave fire to man. And Bobby Hink broke down in the video, the dark side video, is that this fire that he gave to man was actually the Kundalini fire that man could use to raise back up to God, right? Raise back up to being God. But then, in the mythology now, this angered Zeus, and as a punishment for his actions, he created Pandora. Now, Pandora was a woman, right? And Pandora had Pandora's box, which, when opened, would unleash chaos, right? And this chaos now would keep Prometheus and the Titans trapped in Tartarus, right? In these lower realms. But again, in the dark side video, Bobby Hink broke down how Pandora's box is the vagina, and the chaos that was unleashed from Pandora's box was childbirth, right? Childbirth. You see what I'm saying? I thought that part was deep, right? So now the gods could be trapped on earth by keeping them in an endless cycle of reincarnation. You see what I'm saying? So now it's going deep right here. So now, if we go back to this now, and Zeus and Marduk, and we know how Zeus and Marduk is actually Jupiter. Marduk is the god of this realm who is keeping this world functioning, right? So the conclusion here is that we are the Titans, We are the Titans, and we are the monsters of Tiamat. So those monsters that Tiamat summoned, that was us. We are those monsters of Tiamat who went to war with the young gods, right? And we were defeated by Marduk, and then we got trapped on Earth, right? So now these younger gods, the younger gods became the rulers, and now we worship them on Earth. So those gods up there, they're actually the young gods. Those are our children up there. You see what I'm saying? Those are the young gods, right? But by Marduk being Jupiter, which is keeping the Earth safe. Remember now, Jupiter, the orbit, it takes the comets away from the Earth. The orbit takes the comets away from the Earth, right? So by Marduk being Jupiter, which is keeping the Earth safe and keeping this world running, by virtue of that, Marduk is actually the devil. He's the devil, right? Who is keeping God, Titan's God, in hell, which is in a physical body, right? So again, in the physical body. So Marduk is the devil. Marduk is the devil. So he is the God, but by virtue of him keeping this function and keeping this world running, he's actually the devil keeping God in hell. You see what I'm saying? Keeping God in hell. But now here's where it links to the Anunnaki right here. Here's where it links, because Marduk presides over the Anunnaki, which represent the order of the universe and the forces that keeps things in order, right? But Marduk is the devil. So what am I saying here? So what I'm saying here is that the Anunnaki is actually the forces of evil. The Anunnaki is the forces of evil, right? That on behalf of Marduk is aiding in keeping us trapped in this physical and keeping this physical sustained, right? The forces of evil. So now we're going into this right here. So now this is the reason why there are no depictions of the Anunnaki. The Sumerians never depicted they never depicted them. They never depicted the Anunnaki. Those depictions that you thought were the Anunnaki were actually the Abkalu or the Abgel, right? Well, I've dealt with this already in the video, in the Hidden Truth by Extraterrestrials. I dealt with this. The falcon, the eagle-headed deity is Nisroch. That's not the Anunnaki. These are the wise men. These are the ferrymen. You see, there are no depictions of the Anunnaki, and the reason is because the Sumerians understood that the Anunnaki were the forces of evil keeping them trapped here. And they never worshipped the Anunnaki. They revered the Anunnaki, right? They revered the Anunnaki because they knew that the Anunnaki was the forces of evil keeping them trapped here. You see? So that right there, you see what I'm saying, is the end of the video. You see what I'm saying? The Anunnaki is the forces of evil. But what does this mean now? You see what I'm saying? What does this mean? Because we know we got a lot of brothers out here now teaching or dealing with knowledge pertaining to the Anunnaki being the black extraterrestrials. But when you go into the actual text, if you want to say true to the text now, the Anunnaki are not black extraterrestrials. They are forces. They're not black extraterrestrials that travel the solar system in a planet-sized ship called Nibiru, but they are the forces of evil that is keeping God trapped in the physical, right? Along with the god Marduk, who's actually the devil. So again, we gotta start with this now. Alright, so all these Anunnaki black extraterrestrials, we gotta start with this. You see what I'm saying? I've dealt with this already. The extraterrestrial is the soul. We've dealt with this. The Anunnaki are the evil forces aiding Marduk, which is the devil. So we gotta start with this. You see what I'm saying? We gotta start with this right here. You know what I'm saying? So again, that's pretty much it right here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you took some good information for this. Alright, black people. Thanks for watching.